So, something rather interesting just happened, and I'd like to share it with you. I was teaching a class about intercultural communication, and it is a group of master's students, equal number of men and women. Let's say it's about 25 to 30 of them. And in one segment of the class, I did something that I've seen versions of. For the past 30 years, I've used with NCBI, Youth for Peace, the National Coalition Building Institute. I've used with Camp Anytown, NCCJ, the National Conference for Community and Justice. And guess what? It goes like this. You split people into gender groups and you have them list all of the stereotypes that they are aware of about the other or one of the other genders. In this case, there were only two genders, girl and boy, and I encouraged people to self-identify, probably something I wouldn't have done even just a year ago, but my thinking on it has changed. And so they did. They wrote a list of stereotypes. I gave them the explicit instructions to be candid, to not feel as if they are the ones who believe these, but I want them to have an idea of what society says about gender and about differences in gender. And then I had each group look at and interpret the other groups. I had each group look at and explain. I said, well, why do you think they believe this and where could this have come from? And I didn't encourage anyone to say these are true. In fact, we talk about stereotypes and the fact that they are often blunt and often even untrue, and that they forbid us from just seeing the person before us. Now, here's what happened. The group of women who looked at their group of stereotypes, they explained and they said, okay, I see how they see this and this, and it was perfectly fine. It was all about the externalization of the stereotypes. And I explained that one of the ways that we stop believing in stereotypes is to externalize it as such. The group of men, oh my goodness, they addressed each and every stereotype that the women wrote about them and defended themselves. They started asking individually, do you think this? Would you be a housewife? What kind of choices did you make? And it was very defensive and individual. And it was to the point where they could see that the guys were getting heated. And some of the women who were watching this raised this. They said, what's going on? You do. And they reminded them of the instructions. And finally, one of them just said, actually, you guys didn't understand the activity. And even after she's gone and said this and this and this, there was just that defensiveness, competitiveness. And that's what I believe that it comes from. And I explained to one of the young women who came to me afterwards and wanted to explore why that dynamic emerged. And the only thing that I could think to tell her was much like the activity when I've done it across racial groups. The dominant group is not used to being examined, to being looked at. And as men, we're not used to being objectified in any capacity. Now, here's a weird thing. We, of course, objectify each other, and that's the whole problem, is that we compete so much. But to actually step back from that, it was a real chore for the more vocal men in that group. I certainly don't know how the others who weren't as vocal felt. But why do you think that is, that we, when confronted with stereotypes, what would you have said to this young female student about that dynamic? Post your comments. I can't wait to hear from you. Bye.